weapons and militarization of security. So the Americans are more interested in a transgender, homosexual agenda around the world. They will invest their money and give you money to protect human rights. Russia and China are coming with weapons and militarization strategies so that we can protect ourselves. So I want to say this very loud and clear to the Americans. Continue on your transgender agenda. Stay there. Leave us to do politics on the other side. Because what we need right now is not a minority human rights activation. What we need is a societal transformation. And for you as Americans to think that we really envy that when you have an anti-lesbian, anti-gay, LGBT principle, then tourists would drop. Let me correct that once and for all, and cut and clip this, and it must be loud and clear. Are you saying to me that all the tourists are gay? And when you hear that this is a non-gay zone, tourism will suffer? Question number one. Question number two. Are you saying that we don't have the right to expressing ourselves as Africans? Question number three. If democracy means majority rules and majority votes against a principle, then why won't you allow that to become law? Are you saying the minority must manage the majority, or the majority must manage the minority? Then if that whole ideology is wrong, then take democracy in a nice black dustbin bag and throw it outside. Because what you are telling us is by the people, for the people, with the people, and all those slogans you hear, what democracy represents. If we are 10 in the room and 9 people say no, and one person says yes, democracy says you go with the majority. So if we say we want to make Africa democratic, and the demographics of our democracy says no, then why do you philosophically want to manipulate the will of the majority to favor the will of the minority? Then this is where it really gets confusing to me. Because you're selling me one thing, I understand it is democracy, because it is based on the principle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When it comes to practice, no, you can't practice it like that. Then what do you want? Do you want democracy? You want anarchy? You want indigenous governance systems? You want meritocracy? Maybe let's find another way of governing ourselves. But the ideology of democracy being founded on majority rule.
Greetings. So today I wanted to comment on Mr. Joshua Maponga's ideas around.
This is not just a queer issue; it's a human rights issue. It's a human rights issue. When someone's
excuse that, I wanted to comment on Mr. Joshua Maponga's homophobic ideology that he is trying to spread around the world, right? Or let me say around Africa. He kind of believes that he is pro-Africa and pro-African ideologies, right? But I want to say to him that he's very selective of what is African for him and what's not African for him, right? Number one, I just want to throw this out there, just to throw it outside the window. Homosexuality is not a social construct, as he is confusing it for. Gender is a social construct. Sexuality is a biological expression. You have feelings for males not because you've been taught to have feelings for male. That's because it is simply because your biology reacts towards male attraction. So Mr. Maponga and the likes lack academic understanding of this concept. We have sex, we have gender, we have sexuality. Gender is a label that has been socially constructed, to define people with certain sexual traits. For example, males are called men. The key word here is males. Being male is a biological trait. Being man is a social construct, which is why across many different cultures, you are going to see that the definition of what is a man changes per culture, right? That is a social construct. I'm speaking from a sociological perspective because I do have a degree in sociology and anthropology, so I definitely know what I'm talking about. Hence, what I'm saying, it totally makes sense. So, today's woke agenda, as they call it, goes against what has been socially constructed as a label for the sex that is called male. Let me explain this in a simply terms, right? In a simplified terms. Yes, today the woke people are saying that no, just because I am male doesn't mean that I have to subscribe to the idea that I am a man. Because being a man has its own pros and cons, has got its own terms and conditions, which is why even now being a man is very much policed. You cannot be feminine and be a man at the same time. Society says no, you can't do that because you are a man, right? So people who cannot relate to the standards, the characteristics, the rules and regulations attached to the label or to the name of being a man, say that okay, allow me to be something different, because clearly I'm something different according to your societal standards. If I am this feminine, this gay, for that I cannot be considered to be a man enough for the society, right? So what is your problem, Mr. Joshua Maponga, when people are drawing away from your toxic identity for the male sex? There are people saying that I cannot relate to what this idea is about, right? I cannot relate to the standard set for my for the male for the man gender, right? So you lack a broader understanding of things, Mr. Joshua Maponga. I just want to be respectful. You are speaking from an idea that is less informed and much more bigotry inspired. You are a bigot. As much as you're so confident with your words and the labels that you throw at other people, I'm gonna say definitely you are a bigot. And you know, by definition, you are a bigot, because when you look at the academic understanding of what's actually happening, you're gonna realize that definitely being male is a biological trait. Being man is a social construct. Right now you have the ideas about who is a proper man, what a man's supposed to do, right? That's a label with its own terms and conditions, and there are people who cannot relate to those terms and conditions simply because of their biological traits, right? Like you said, a man is somebody that has to date a woman, and there are people who say, okay, now I'm not gonna go with the gender man because biologically speaking I'm not attracted to women. Then you want to demonize them, you want to call them an African. It's so stupid of you to think that homosexuality is un-African in your words, because even the idea of what is to be a man, even in Africa itself, study the history of Africa across different cultures within the African continent itself. You're gonna realize even the idea of what is a man and what a man is supposed to do differs per culture. There are some instances where men in some countries, in some kingdoms back then, were not allowed to be in leadership positions, meaning that by definition the idea of a man in matrilineal led queendoms, you realize that the idea of a man was that a man is not supposed to be leading women, which is why we had queendoms, right? But in some cultures you're gonna see that they said that no, a man is a label attached to a being that is supposed to lead a woman, which is why we had kings, right, and kingdoms. So you need to be very, very intellectually smart to comprehend what I'm trying to say here, because I'm gonna say this, and even if it sounds insultive, I'm saying this to match your own energy, right? You are so confident you are too confident in your bigotry, right? That can be debunked by even a first year university student, right? I want to say something again, right? You are talking about Kamala Harris or the Americans pushing the gay agenda onto people, right? It's so stupid of you to think that homosexuality or sexuality is a Western ideology. It's not a Western ideology. It is a biological functionality. In simple terms, homosexuality exists across different countries. Even in countries where it is illegal, it doesn't mean that homosexuality does not exist there. It's so stupid of you to think that homosexuality does not exist, because homosexuality is a biological trait, right? It's like somebody saying that it is illegal for that country to have oxygen. Just because it is illegal. I know that it sounds stupid, but I'm trying to explain this in a way that would make sense for somebody with your comprehension, right? So you would say that it is illegal for oxygen to be available in that country, but irregardless, the oxygen exists, because it is part of nature in that country, right? Even if it is illegal. Same thing with homosexuality. As a matter of fact, this is a biological fact for those who are interested in advanced biology, right? You guys, people like you, like to code basic biology, but when we step into advanced biology, speaking from a biological anthropology point of view, I'm gonna tell you this. It has been observed by scientists, marine biologists, land biologists, animal biologists, biological anthropologists, forensic anthropologists, medical doctors, that homosexuality definitely is a natural it is a natural trait, right? Number one. Another thing that I want to say, homosexuality has been proven to exist in more than 1,000 species. Not in more than 1,000 lion. I'm talking about 1,000 species, right? 1,000 species. So do you want to tell me that the American influenced over 1,000 species to be homosexual? You see how how stupid that sounds? That's because that's how you sound. Homosexuality has been part of this nature since the beginning of time. It is only people like you are so bigoted enough to deny the fact that nature says homosexuality is part of nature. So your anger, you're talking about democracy. Just because majority of people believe in it, it doesn't make it right. It does not make it right. For example, a parliament can have bunch of racist people who were elected democratically. See the United States, for example, right? The President Trump was elected democratically, right? That is what we've been told, right? And he has implemented laws or legislations that goes against human rights. So just because he was elected democratically, we must ignore the fact that he is violating human rights. Do you know that the rights that you had today was because the minority fought, right? Even though the majority itself said no, the minority that were of your race deserved slavery, but the minority kept on fighting, which is something that is currently reflecting today, right? The same way the black people who were the minority in the United States were able to fight and get their rights. It is the same way. It is the same thing happening with the LGBTQI plus community. Just because the majority says black people deserve to be treated unfairly, doesn't make it right, even if it is democracy. The United States is a perfect example of this. You, Mr. Bigoted Head. The United States of America definitely says America was very racist towards black people and the minority and other minorities, right? Yeah. But today, America has improved so much regarding blacks in America's rights. Right, even though there's a lot of work to be done, I take that into consideration. But you can see that if they just had accepted the racist laws in the name of, oh, this is democracy, this is what the majority of people, this is what the majority wants, do you think that the Americans would have the freedom that they have today? You are so stupid, Mr. J. Maponga. You are so stupid. And your hatred towards homosexuality is so suspicious, because scientifically speaking, it has been proven scientifically through scientific experiments, right, that people like you hate themselves because they know the truth that they are uncomfortable with about themselves. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it there. Yes, so I'm matching your own energy. If you're gonna come with a bigoted energy, I'm gonna meet you at that level, and I'm gonna speak your language, alright? Because this is the language that you understand. So I'm speaking this way for you to understand the message. You are nothing but a bigot. Okay. So another thing that you mentioned that I found very stupid, right? You mentioned countries like, is it Russia, China, right? Say that those countries simply they had the freedom to choose their own governmental structures, cultures. And I need people who know less about culture stop talking about culture, because academically speaking, culture on its own is ever changing. This is an anthropological fact. Culture on its own is ever changing. You cannot say that the culture that we have today reflects the culture that people in the 1800s had, and the culture that people in the 1800s had does not reflect the culture that people in the 1600s had. Culture is ever changing, right? Culture is ever changing, so when you talk about culture, you want to hide your bigotry behind culture, and keep in mind that you are selective with the idea of what is cultural to you or what is African cultural to you. Because if you deep dive into the history of Africa, you're going to see that homosexuality was part of Africa. It is only you who is still suffering from neurocoloniality that you believe that homosexuality was un-African, because it is a historical fact that colonization brought homophobia, even in the ancient Greece, even in Rome, even in the countries that seem to be homophobic today. If you trace back their history, you're going to realize that it is because of colonization. So you cannot speak against colonization while you still want to embrace the ideas of colonization that actually feed your bigotry. You are a bigot, Mr. Maponga, right? And I'm so glad that people are waking up from your bigotry, right? And you just have a bigger platform with a big mouth just to speak out nothing but bigotry. And this is my opinion that is academically inspired. And when you're talking about transgender agenda, you thought that was a pun, and it's like you saying that black people agenda. What is the agenda behind black people's agenda? Is to get the right to live freely because of their biological and cultural identity. And do you know that transgender people are transitioning because of biological reasons? Do you know that it is confirmed by neuroscientists, computational neuroscience engineers, psychologists, medical doctors, psychiatrists, that transgender people, when they transition, it is because they cannot, their physical, their internal brain, part of the brain, cannot relate to what they see. Alright. It is hormonal. They have female hormones inside them. You can confirm this. It's not that they are waking up in the morning and decide that, oh my god, I just want to be transgender. I can even Google it for you right now. Trust and believe me, this is not scripted. And I just speak from my own understanding, because my thing is academically inspired. Let me do biological reasons for transgender people transitioning. I'm just getting keywords here. You see, medical and sociological consensus indicate that transgender identity is not a choice or a mental illness, but rather a natural. What's natural? Biology, aspect of human diversity. While there is no single cause, experts attribute gender identity and the need to complex and interrelated biological factors. You are a bigot. See, this is the side. This is the side. This is the source. This is the source. The American Psychological Association. Before you can debunk the American Sociological Association, keep in mind that these are people with something that you don't have, which is PhDs, research experience in psychology. And remember that before publishing every research-based article, there is something that is called peer reviewing. And can you just do yourself a favor, ask around the pressure that a piece of academic paper goes through when there's peer reviewing done on it? There's a high level of scrutinizing by fellow colleagues in the discipline. It is not a joke when people are publishing academic articles. Alright, I'm just gonna leave it here. So the same way black people want their freedom of expression, it is the same way transgender people want their freedom of expression. Even if they are a minority. Do you know that Americans in America are a minority? Because the majority is white, and democratically speaking, whites are in power and whites are implementing racist laws. So is that correct just because it has been selected democratically? That's correct for you, for your bigoted mind. Stop trying to act smart when you lack the academic, intellectual tools to make you actually smart, at least academically. You are a bigot. Another thing that I wanted to say to Mr. Jeshua Pongo is that before you can talk about anything, do yourself a favor. Bring academic resources backing your claims. Homosexuality, transgenderism, like you call it, and I have a word with the word transgenderism because it has negative connotations to it. You are implying something even though you don't imply directly. It's like me saying blackism. Blackism, you make it as if it's an ideology. Being black is not an ideology. Being black is an identity. Being black is a biological thing. So blackism, you make it seem it's an ideology, a political ideology on top of that. Stop it. Some of us can see through that because we have read and we have studied. It's not transgenderism. It is a fight for human rights, for humans to be who they want to be for themselves. In what country have you seen being transgender being violent to anyone? People are saying that we don't want transgender people in women's bathroom because of we are worried about human safety. Give me one reason where a transgender person would go under surgical procedures that would just to violate women in their bathrooms. Actually, you are not afraid of transgender women. You are afraid of perverts who happen to be straight men, who will take advantage of this opportunity, who will just put on a makeup. And I suspect people like you, this is just my opinion. I'm not implying that this is what you're gonna do. This is just my opinion. I don't have evidence to prove that this is what you're gonna do. So this is not a fact. This is not factual. Just opinionated. Right? So perverts who happen to be straight will take you are scared that they will take advantage of this opportunity actually. But your anger is shifted on transgender people. Because that's how vile you are of a human being. You are not even allowing to see yourself understand the core issue, which is not transgender people, because transgender people are transgender people because they don't want to be men, right? So why someone who does not want to be man would sexually violate a woman in the first place, right? And you know that many of them, actually, there's no history as far as I'm concerned at the time that I'm recording this, that a trans woman has sexually violated a woman. Maybe there is someone there, right? But compared to what straight men are doing to women on a daily basis, the issue is never about trans women. The issue is about perverts. Even straight men, not every straight man is problematic. That's why I'm very careful with my words. Unlike you are so bigoted that you want to generalize the whole population on one or on a small percentage of those who are part of that minority group. I'm gonna leave it here, and I'm still coming for your bigoted stuff. I'm just responding to you.